Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. The question of today is, what was the turning point for you when learning about the case at hand? Was there any factors along the way which made you rethink the situation, thoughts, outlook, opinions, theories, whether that be the cause of death, estimate of time of death, location, who could be responsible, those that may know more than others, things being debunked along the way? At what point within the case did it change for you and your overall outlook, or maybe certain areas to some extent? You're welcome to share those thoughts down below in the comment section and I can read them later. But today I want to look at a couple myself from people elsewhere externally. Credit to the Reddit page, which hasn't really it's just not been covered much on my channel. So I thought I'd do that today. And considering this is a live premiere, welcome to those that are here. You can make use of the live chat located on the right hand side of the screen, and then later on in the video I will be sharing with you my thoughts and outlook on the case and what was my turning point in some areas. And it's quite interesting in general, and it's probably the right time to do it now considering what's gone on in recent time. And in regard to predictions being made, I was right from the very beginning. What I had in my head, my mind, and then what I shared later, it's all come true. So that's why it doesn't surprise me too much. This is the Dylan Rounds Case Community 2.0 for sure. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. And if there's any other things to talk about, then that can be done. And if there's any other ideas, they can follow on with future videos. If you are interested in previous coverage, what I've done on the case, if you've missed out in recent time, don't worry. You'll find those videos and the full playlist along top right corner screen where the I symbol is. Just click up there. And if you do want to support the channel in alternative ways, down below in the comments, pinned message by me, there is a PayPal link. With that all being said, I think we should start the video off and take a look on Reddit. Well, here we are on the Noah Presgrove review page, and it says, when did you start to question the narrative? Many of us started taking a closer look when the autopsy was published. What was your turning point? And first of all, we've got Impossible War. I just want to make it clear, just in case any outsiders misunderstand, because people have done already in the past, Impossible War is another individual, not me. And the only reason why I say that is because at the time of the official Noah Presgrove Reddit page, the main other one, I got kicked or blocked from there temporarily, or on another one, because some admins or moderators got mixed up with names and assumed that Impossible War must be me because of the name War. But no, it's not. Different person. This individual says, I knew nothing of Noah. I just stumbled upon his story. The first I read was on Unsolved Mysteries subreddit page, and I was shocked by more so that his friends were suspects. I joined the Noah Presgrove subreddit. I was full in at the start. It was murder. That was the outlook for it. It was murder because that's how it was being put out. I believed Jack Newton did it and had help from his dad Caleb. Partygoers helped. That didn't last long. The sensationalism of it, with the accusations, all of it was just too over the top for me. I can understand that, too over the top in terms of the claims made or the suggestions by people elsewhere on Facebook that, oh yeah, Noah was taken out, killed, knocked out, accidental, then properly ran over to stage something else or to make sure he's definitely finished off, then drag his body inside of the house, sneaking about so nobody sees, washes the body down, records the video as well, the shower, plays it off like he's still alive whilst holding him up like a piece of meat, and then taking him back out, and then going down to the highway, then dropping him off to stage it as something else, then removing the shorts and switching it. When you add all that together, it does seem a bit far-fetched, I get. And maybe that's what Impossible War is partially referring to. They say it would be nice to say that most grew out of this notion as we learned and realised just how many lies and rumours there were, but that isn't the case. They don't want to believe proven facts. I never believed Noah was beaten, not with boots, fist, or golf club. A golf club would not do the damage that was done to his body, end of. And for anyone that still thinks that, did you read the autopsy? I mean, at one point, in terms of my outlook or opinion, I obviously acknowledged the possibility of it, and that's just how a balanced individual goes about, without dismissing stuff. Personally, I considered it, a possible beating just based off the tension, some of the arguments at the party, how it could have built up, who knows. No harm in thinking like that. Got to consider all possibilities. In terms of some of the injuries, I was thinking maybe the golf club, but not all of the injuries. I didn't think all could be caused by a golf club. The driving force which made me feel possible golf club and the usage of that was the whole theme of the missing clubs in the golf bag being interpreted by me as, well, if you're going to remove anything, move it elsewhere, then hide it and then dispose of later. Again, are you trying to hide possible evidence, a murder weapon? So yeah, there was a phase, not really reflected back on it since, because there's just not really been a follow-up or anything else being reinforced. Kane and Pressey talked about it in one of the interviews, but it's just not been brought up since. Kane and Pressey hasn't brought it up either. So it's kind of just faded away. We know Justin Roy and some others were, really big on the possibilities of a beating and golf clubs, but it wasn't like that all the time. It was a bit later on. We saw Alicia Lee make a reference based off her thoughts that she felt that one of the girls, maybe Carter Combs, actually whacked Noah on the head or on the back of the head, one swing, and then ran off, and then other people jumped in like a pack of wolves and took Noah out. Seems a little bit wild, I know, but that's just how it's gone. I've taken a look at the autopsy, as you know, in the past, and as I've claimed many times and made it clear, I'm no expert. Some people can have their heads rammed up their arse and say, well, it doesn't take an expert to understand an autopsy, but, everybody at different levels. It was a bit of an exercise itself, just trying to read out some of the medical terms and extended vocabulary, but at a later point ended up looking at it in a more visual sense. Can't remember who created it. Might have been reposted or posted by Tim Daniel, I'm not too sure. And it had like layers and an overlay of the different injuries to Noah, the colour coding, the areas, the locations, more on the left-hand side on the back shoulder area, I believe. And that was quite interesting, that. But moving on. Impossible War says, I quickly fell away from the Jack Newton theory of being responsible and believed Noah had an accident either surfing on a truck and upon sudden stop went flying forwards, or he fell out of a truck on the road. I wasn't fully with the friends covering it up, but it made the most sense to me at the time. I felt they panicked, not called for help, and a pact was made because maybe they felt if they reached out to police, they would get in trouble and they're throwing the life away. So it's easier just to try and cover it up. But then you start incriminating yourself within it more, and it will get harder with time if you ever was to be caught out. Then they say, I saw all the rumours and finger pointing and threats. I read the autopsy report. My eyes were being opened, but a shocking amount of BS was actively being pushed as the truth. I showed them the real documented truth. I thought Caden seemed like a nice, well-spoken country boy. I replied to several people backing him and telling them he was sitting there all night, etc. I even defended Caden to someone that swore he was on drugs that night. He was probably only on mild painkillers, if anything at all, and I'm not sure how much he drank, but he couldn't have been much as a result of recent surgery. In the early days, things were crazy. The accusations and the bloodlust were off charts. I defended the partygoers, and I defended Stevie Howard as a mom. I was accused of being Stevie Howard, as were several others. I mean, yeah, it is really, really cringe-worthy when you defend someone or you give an alternative opinion and then people are quick to say, oh, you're Stevie Howard, oh, you're Jack Newton, oh, you're this, you're a fake profile. It's so embarrassing how people jump to that conclusion so quickly. And of course, we've seen it from the light side, certain people over there. I mean, yes, I've come across fake accounts in previous cases, communities, but I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've not jumped the gun like other people have. So it's just unfortunate. It's, I guess, an emotional thing, isn't it? Impulse. This person then says, I also went down the road of a hit and run. No one can definitely rule it out. No one can definitively rule it out. Wait, hold on. But I thought the hit and run was officially ruled out by police. And if it's officially been ruled out, is that not enough? That's the only slight issue there. But if anyone's got counterpoints, be sure to list it down below. If I be honest with you, did I see official documents by police or like a press release conference stating hit and run ruled out? No. But did I see it re-quoted or mentioned in an informal, semi-formal news article? Probably unlikely. Maybe people.com. Is that good enough? You'd like to hear it from the horse's mouth. I know over time people do like to re-quote others, and that's good, but do we actually have the original source, a link, a screenshot? That would obviously do a lot of good. I mean, like, okay, Jack Newton says this and that from what he's been told, and then when we listen in, then we say, well, Jack said this and Jack said that, or the police said this and that, but the counterpoint would be we're getting second, third, fourth hand information being passed down. Yes, Jack may have been told it, but have we been told it from the original source, the horse's mouth, the police, as Zachary writes? No. So just a little bit of skepticism doesn't harm the situation. What else do we have? It became apparent around this time that there was two camps with two clear sets of beliefs, light side, dark side, and lines were now being drawn in the sand. Those lines were never so obvious as they are now, which is unfortunate as we all want answers for Noah. Well, this is the reality. It's easy to say everybody wants answers and everybody wants justice for Noah. And consciously, maybe that's true. But subconsciously, not everybody actually stands by it or demonstrates it with their words and or actions. There might be a range of people out there trying to convince themselves that they care about the case and they're for the case. They've got to keep convincing themselves or convincing others. Just like the same rhetoric of the endless cycle, the repetitive nature of, guys, stop the drama, stop the conflict, the case is important, there is only one victim. It's such a robotic statement over and over again that it's said more times than actual action taken, and it just becomes a little bit pointless. Look, I've seen it in the past, okay, and it's not done much good. Just get on with it. So what do we have here? Became apparent, my beliefs have changed as new evidence came to light, and it may always do so. I hope it does. I would hate to be stuck on one belief. Even as you are shown proof that what you once believed to be true is false, how awful to be so blinded in your hatred for people you've never met, never will, that you can't see facts outside of your narrow views. So my turning point, the accusations of corruption from 911 calls to even FBI, it just makes the accusers look crazier and their theories even less believable. So I do understand where this person's coming from, that you get a group or you get a selection of people that may state things, have theories, ideas, and could be somewhat believable or it could be contested, but you just, you go along with it, acknowledge, don't completely dismiss it. But they undo themselves. They ruin it for themselves and possibly other people too along the way, collateral damage, when people start acting up. So if you weren't, seen as crazy then, you might be now. And it's unfortunate if there's been work done along the way and you've kind of undone it all. And it can have a negative knock-on effect along the way. What else do we have? Okay. It just makes the accused look crazier. Yeah. I go with evidence, the autopsy, the fact of no charges being laid, and that it's not going to be investigated as murder. I do not believe Noah's friends or the parents are capable of this. Right, not direct murder, but can manslaughter still be on the table? I mean, with the possibilities of a hit and run, that's considered murder. Or am I wrong for thinking that? I just like to scroll back up if I can actually find it. I might not be able to. I wasn't okay, but it made sense that they felt panicked. Where was it now? It'll be somewhere. I'm not. Maybe it was mentioned that you can't completely rule out a hit and run. What was said here, but to also say that murder's been ruled out. Well, normally, I could be wrong. Well, no, actually, no. I mean, you could have like some kind of accident involved with a hit and run. You weren't meaning to knock someone down, but it happened. And instead of getting out to check on them, call police, call ambulance, you panic or you end up leaving the scene and driving off. Not outright murder, but you start incriminating yourself more because you've left someone. But then other times you can get a murder-based hit and run. There's always different possibilities. Okay, so that's a turning point for them. The accusations of corruption, the craziness from people which undid it all for themselves, and then the outwards perspective, or outsiders looking in thought, well, you just made it easier. We got flashy operation. I wasn't fully on board about the murder theory from the start. Then I started reading all the comments from mums, and they seemed very far-fetched for me. Lots of rumours, but no proof to back them up. To some extent, I kind of get that. It appeared to me that some of these people running with the rumours wanted his death to be absolute worst case scenario, murder by being beaten to death with a golf club. So that is a point that I made earlier on in the case about, do people actually want it to be a murder outcome? Do some people actually force it in unnatural ways because they've got an obsession or a fantasy with true crime related stuff? And I know Michael Fay's Kaz got a little bit triggered by that, saying, how could you think that? No one would be thinking that. What are you on about? At the end of the day, it's just an observation. And like when I've studied psychology, like when I studied with true crime, serial killers, I can see along the way you get a fandom, you get the fantasies, the fantasist, the people that want to send letters to criminals, prisoners, and much more, and all kinds of stuff in between. Can get a little bit twisted, can get a little bit dodgy. Always possible. Got to take into consideration. Some people may want it to be a murder case outcome because it just sounds more flashy, more dark, and more interesting. At the moment it's resolved and deemed just an accident. Is that it? It's like the Kenny Veach case. For as long as it continues on and the endless possibilities of alien abduction, military involvement, cartel, kidnapping, and anything else in between, hidden secrets, military operations and equipment, it just sounds better. But if it is ruled out and things are debunked along the way, there'll be a level of resistance from people that think, I'm really disappointed now. It sounds really boring, the case. I wanted it to be something much more than what it really is. People can force it in unnatural ways too. So definitely worth highlighting that. What else do we have? Start reading all the comments from mums. It appeared to me that some of these, running with the death, murder by being beaten, autopsy came out. That was the point that got to me. Fully understand that he was not beaten. The amount of injuries was massive and the type you would not see with a beating. No pattern marks from any injuries or any type of instruments being used. Whilst that may be true, there were some experts, which was supposedly re-quoted or interviewed on like the Daily Mail article and elsewhere, where experts, some claim that there's signs of a beating, 5 guys being responsible. So that always needs to be acknowledged as well. I remember seeing that in the early days. Also, when they were pushing that there was no blood, but Noah's brother stated it was seeping through the blanket, and the truck driver had also stated that there was blood pooled around his head. None of us have any way to determine the amount of blood that was there. and it wasn't being taken into consideration the amount of internal bleeding. So you got internal bleeding and then outwards bleeding if it did soak up with covering, sheeting, absorbing. Yeah, I do understand that to some extent. Impossible War. The quote, "Where's all the blood then, huh?" does my head in every time. They want to believe it was whatever theory their brains are stuck on. Will twist themselves into knots to make their beliefs uneducated at first. At that, fit the evidence. The fact is, there was blood. As you said, Noah's brother commented about blood seeping through the cover. So to the people that are hanging on for dear life to the no blood theory, educate yourself. Now, the only reason why people would be pushing and hanging on to the no blood theory, because if it was true, if that there was no blood or a lack of it, it would mean that it must be elsewhere, or in a different location. And if it's in a different location, then it means foul play responsible, and the chances of murder, chances increased, being moved from one place to another. And, you know, the same said individuals believe it's a murder and a form of foul play, well, then they'll hang on to this possibility. What else do we have? Tough. It was the autopsy report itself that convinced me it couldn't have been a beating death, as the documented catastrophic injuries appeared to have happened all at once. OHP quickly followed up by publicly stating Noah's death was not being investigated as a murder. And whilst people should be able to take that for their word and acknowledge it, you know, if there are people out there that are overly sceptical or just sceptical in general and have a sense or a feeling that police authorities in the area are supposedly corrupt, well then basically whatever the police says from there on then, it will never be good enough for those, you know, individuals, would it? Because, we can't trust this, we can't trust that. Well then how do you expect any progress to be made if you can't trust anything? Won't go anywhere. Tough says, one would think this should have turned the public discussions away from various murder scenarios, but it seemed to have the opposite effect. Yeah, so you'd hope to think when things are supposedly debunked, cleared up, and there's updates along the way by the authorities, the right people, that should be it. But no, it intensifies the situation, because when the general public don't get what they want, the supposed outcome, there's outrage, there's a greater push. Oh, well, it's been ruled out, it's been debunked. Oh, that should be good enough. No. It must mean that they're being paid off and there is corruption and there's deep pockets as well. We've got to look at that avenue as well. You should be able to question and be sceptical within reason, you know, for that balance and open ideas and opinions. But, you know, I guess if people started forcing it in an unnatural way, might be a step too far. That's the way I see it, at least. Agreeable. You're right, it made them dig in further for whatever weird reasons. I'm convinced most people didn't read the autopsy, and if they did, they didn't look at the causes of the injuries, or they would not be saying a beating. Day one, when I started following, a lot of the facts were actually rumours. Almost everything that seemed sinister turned out to be untrue. Shredded fingertips? Nope. Aggressive fights? Nope. Caleb picking up teeth? Nope. Adults being at the party? Nope. No blood on scene. Nope. I knew his injuries weren't consistent with a beating from the get-go, so I never fell into the murder plot theory. Once the autopsy came out, it cemented everything I was thinking. Wait, agreeable cry. Oh, sorry. It's just because I'm familiar with that username before. Maybe not. I don't know. I do remember at some point there was another username, different one, but it was on the official Reddit page, and it was supposedly Noah Presgrove's mom, Casey Smith. But I don't know what happened to them. Impossible says, I remember you were from the start. The rumours were off the charts. There were a few of us that began to veer away pretty early on from the murder theory and didn't believe this was a beating. There were several that still pushed the shredded fingertips, and even as recent as yesterday, one useless FUD was still talking about CN throwing teeth around. Impossible War. Who is that useless individual? Feel free to give the name down below in the comment section. We've got Golf Pro, shout out to them. Wow, you must have been very unpopular in the groups, realising all this from the beginning. So glad you are here. I wish I had such a clear understanding prior to the autopsy. This was a humbling experience for me, for sure. For anyone lurking out there as a co-admin, I want to let you know you're welcome even if you're not sure what to think. We'd love the opportunity to hear from you. I mean, in terms of my perspective, obviously I'll share that with you later on in my own video. See how that goes. retired llama farmer. After careful research and analysis of the autopsy, and after reading how unpaid professionals, not looking to drive clicks, interpreted it, it was clear to me that Noah was not beaten, nor was he moved after death. This is the most important part. Unbiased professionals who weren't counting for clicks, etc., all said vehicle involved accident. Okay, so there are some additional comments which I will acknowledge later, but the comment section is still active, so by the time I get to it and record, there might be additional comments later on in the day which I don't pick up on. So I just want to make that very clear as a heads up. But some interesting stuff going on there which can be for additional discussions. But whilst I can share with you my thoughts on my turning point, what made me rethink things and pick up on possibilities, I'll get to that in just a second. But in regard to kind of like a viewer request, what needs to be acknowledged or what could be acknowledged is in regard to a, I guess, supporter, member within, you know, the Noah Presgrove community case online on Facebook. So when it comes to Dina Rose, which I guess a range of people are familiar with, it did come up previously, maybe some months ago, when they weren't as active online on Facebook. It was mentioned in one of the live chats of mine that they were ill. I don't know if it was down to cancer or not, but they weren't too well. So obviously, I guess taking a step back, not being active online. And from what's been mentioned, supposedly, what has been mentioned in recent time, that Dina Rose has passed away. They're no longer upon this earth. So obviously that's unfortunate. Rest in peace to them. Just like a little viewer request. I mean, I think they said about a tribute. I don't know if that means getting like a slideshow with all photos and music being played, but you know, I don't normally do that, to be honest. But that's just like I guess you can call it a heads up. So if you wonder why the odd individual's no longer present, such as Dina Rose, it's because they've passed away. So with that being said, I'll just transition on to, you know, my outlook of the case with how it's gone since. I did have the opportunity to take a look at the autopsy report. Was my mind completely changed forever, like how it was for, I guess, other people? Honestly, no. But that's because of the timing of when I got involved in the case. I think, and I'm not 100% sure, that maybe one of the first videos that I did, June 1st onwards, around the time of when I looked at the Daily Mail article, which actually showed the autopsy report. But I guess I didn't look at the official document immediately. I looked at like a reconstruction, a repost with quotes, words, and the odd little diagram, which showed it in an informal way. So you didn't get all the big fancy words. So, you know, looking at something like that, the first time you get involved in a case, there's a lot to process, can be overwhelming. For other people that came across the autopsy report, they would have been involved in the case beforehand, maybe 2023, early 2024, around that. You got more time to look at the groundwork, the BS, the bollocks, the theories and ideas, monitor all that, try and interpret it all, and then hard evidence comes out, documents, then you can take a look at it, and then you can compare, contrast. I guess I didn't really have much to compare, contrast with, because I jumped in at the deep end immediately, and based off how I normally do things, like I've done in the past with like the Dylan Rouse case, I was more involved earlier on, so I had more of a chance to try and catch up and keep up with everything. When I got involved in this case, I was looking backwards to catch up with that, whilst at the same time looking at the freshest things. It took a bit more time. Did I eventually get to a point where I was like, I'm looking at the autopsy, I know exactly what's the case, boom, 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 all sorted, resolved? I wouldn't say so. That's just how I am, because I like looking at it in other areas. See, this is the thing, what separates me from other people, whilst the cause of death will be the most important factor question out there, I take into consideration the events that led up to the death. As for the locations, the people that were about, the level, the type of the atmosphere, such as with the shower situation, the side-by-side rollover, the bedroom debacle, any final arguments between Noah and Jack. That's what I look at first before I move on to the actual cause of death. Because sometimes if you know the motive, if there is one, you might be able to work out the possible cause of death, then compare, contrast to the official documents. I believe that there is an order to it, and whilst you can jump around and dash ahead, if I was to do that, it just wouldn't work for me. So there is an order to it, and with how I do it compared to others, it could trigger, annoy, piss off people, but it is what it is. You get what I'm saying? It is my channel, my coverage at the end of the day, so I'll do what I can with what I've got. And I've looked at the autopsy on and off. I can always look back at it once again. There's no harm in that. I think I've got a couple of screenshots as well. What I did find just as valuable, if not more, is when it comes to the clothing situation. Let's just say you put the autopsy aside and you're trying to work out the possible cause of death. I wanted to look at the state of clothing, the condition of certain evidence and possessions that were about and nearby. What was that like? Any signs of a struggle? Any signs of damage, physical, visible, and etc. The situation with the mismatched shoes, grass within the shoelace inside, trying to figure out the possibilities there. And along the way, from what either Alicia or Caden Pressey had said externally elsewhere, I believe it might have been more so Alicia, that Caden told her that when it came to Sunday evening or so, when they were in Jack's Ford Ranger going across the field area while shooting animals, getting in and out of the vehicle while stepping on vegetation grass, hence how it got in the shoelaces for Caden exclusively. The same could apply to Noah's Adidas shoe, if not both. So that's a possibility which filled in certain areas, which kind of debunked the theory of being dragged along, as in once Noah is dead or in the process of being killed, like an ambush. You see how you can add it bit by bit, but then you can see how it can be countered as well with possible evidence and what others have said. It wasn't countered with absolute hard evidence, but it was just an alternative that was given from Alicia, from what Caden had told her, and it would make sense as to how bits of debris and stuff can get caught up in shoes, and that it wasn't caught up in the shoe for a sinister reason, more, an innocent one, a normal outcome. So it really does help that in terms of the white shorts, very important for me when it comes to the possibilities of foul play, murder or not. You can have an accidental death if you are caught up in it somehow. You panic, you cover it up, you move things on, you disperse, dispose, cleanse, whatever stage, you're incriminating yourself within it as trying to cover and hide it. So it does become a bit of foul play, manipulation and tampering and whatnot. And if any of that is true, for it to be reinforced or countered, debunked, in my opinion, for a greater level of understanding would be to see hard evidence, video footage that's very clear, which may depict Noah wearing white shorts with the timestamp attached at the appropriate time, day more so. If I see that at some point, that will greatly help, and then I can go from there. Whilst others can tell me, well, it does exist and it is there, okay, I'm going to acknowledge it, I'm not going to dismiss it, but I'm not convinced enough. That's how it works for me. So even before the whole cause of death and looking directly at the autopsy, okay? Because the autopsy may state as fact that white shorts found nearby. Okay, fair enough, and backed up by a witness too, like Tyler Hardy. There is something clothing laying in the middle of the road, white shorts. Okay, then reinforced by the ME examiner coming on down later to come across them, process them, take them away and whatnot. And whilst that's all true, Caden Pressey has a different outcome because he was there earlier, supposedly, and seeing black shorts, supposedly. How can that be countered? Even if Michael Faeskaz and others say that there is highway footage which shows police officer removing Noah's black shorts, all sounds very shocking. How do you counter and debunk most of that? Well, it'll be through hard evidence which shows Noah at the party, Sunday night, Monday morning, more so ideally, of him wearing the, it would have to be Monday morning onwards, of the white shorts. Whilst yes, Monday morning at 1:50 a.m. in the bathroom, Noah is wearing black shorts, yes. Onwards, past 1:50 onwards. We've not seen any additional public footage which shows what Noah was up to, how he was dressed, what did he look like, and writing on his body or not. So, for me personally, the white shorts, video footage, evidence of Noah wearing them, if it does truly exist, and if I can see it with my own eyes, then not only does it counter Caden Pressey, Michael Faeskaz, the possible tampering of the highway evidence and whatnot, it might give a better understanding for me in regard to the condition of the white shorts or how they ended up where they were and more. You get what I'm saying? So for me, I'm kind of pending on stuff. And yeah, people can say to me, yeah, but the autopsy says this and that. You know, I'll do it in my way, just like how you do it in your way. If something works, then you stick with it. If it's immediate, great. If it takes time, because sometimes good things take time. There's no point rushing it. You do what you can when you feel like it and when you're ready. So when I'm ready to change my outlook, it can come down to the white shorts and the video footage and proof of that. That's what will help me, but there's not much that can be done at this moment in time. So whilst I'm waiting and whatnot, I'll look at it in other ways. That's just what I do. That's what my channel is like. People don't like it, oh well. If in areas you could say, well, this clearly shows it's that way, I'm still going to acknowledge the other things too in the meantime, right? Just for that balance, because that's what I've done in the past. I should have changed it, keep that up. See, the only exception is with the Dylan Rounds case, I was a little bit more confident, a bit more passionate about the likely outcome and what was responsible. And yeah, when opposition, when locals and other prats went against it or being awkward, it did piss me off, but I tried keeping it controlled, but I was still more focused and passionate on the outcome based off words and a bit of evidence along the way, and it turned out to be true. I'm not quite at that stage within this case because I've been trying to juggle around all the other stuff on top of it. Yeah, you can say that this case has a lot of bloatware and it needs to be cleansed, maybe with time, but for most part of it, it might just be that things fade away, fade out of existence, but not completely resolved. That's why I always bring up previous points about, yeah, but what happened to the golf clubs? What happened about the odd sheep? What happened about that person online claiming to have received items from Caden's mom? Not Caden's mom, Casey Smith, Noah's mom, and beyond. And it doesn't always get acknowledged. There might not always be answers, but just bring it up once again, going round and round in circles at times to finally force some progression. Some videos that have been done in recent time have led to then an update or a bit more context coming out, but it wouldn't have come out in the first place. So action had to be taken, a catalyst moment by myself, which then led to an additional thing, just like how it was documented in the past, right? So I'm giving you the ins and outs of my thoughts at this moment in time, but what is the true turning point for me? Well, I've given you a turning point in which how my thoughts can change or transform based off what's needed, what I require. But what about in the moment or what's already happened, which has changed my outlook? Well, first of all, I'll give you a very recent one. Granted, I did make the prediction early on or from day one, so I got it right. When it comes to third group, when it comes to the, what do you call it? I don't know what words to use anymore, but when we get the Pratts and Plums, that's what we'll call it the PPs. The Pratts and Plums and the wonky glasses, When they gather, we see where it goes. Detractors and some viewers of mine, and probably still now elsewhere, I'll keep an eye out. Cleansing has taken place, so don't worry about that. But there'll be some other people on the watch list when it comes to me looking out on, because do I trust them? We will see, okay? But the obvious ones, yeah, cleansed. It's needed. At the end of the day, and it applies to the Dylan Brown's case, I don't want to have to look at people's faces and names at times when I know what they're really like. You know, it doesn't stop people from watching. Anyone can watch. You cannot stop that. So it's still open there. But, you know, when you see people, when you've got no choice to see them, the way I feel dirty, okay? I feel like I need cleansing myself when I'm around disease-ridden humans. You get what I'm saying? It's needed. A form of counter stuff. Yeah, it does help along the way when there's alternatives and it can be done possible. So with that in mind, with what's gone on in recent time, that's changed my outlook on things in regards to who really wants justice for Noah Presgrove and the actions and steps taken, not in terms of the cause of death and the outcome, murder or not, but in terms of, you know, fighting for progression and moving forwards. It kind of comes across as if some want it more than others, and others may just be trying to convince themselves or convince others that's the case, and it's not exactly subconsciously or unconsciously. And we might see a bit more of that within the comment section on my YouTube channel when we look at the previous comments of the last video or so. But basically, from a certain perspective, the definition of justice for Noah Presgrove, get ready for this, it's going to sound very dumb, but this is just reality. From certain outlooks, the true definition of justice for Noah Presgrove is if you ask questions, you will be blocked, censored, told off, and you'll be called out for misinformation. If you question Caden Pressey, the poster person, the golden goose, or whatever you want to call it, any questioning towards Caden Pressey, you're a bad person, you're an attacker, you're a threatening individual, you're naughty, you need to be kicked off. That's the definition for justice for Noah Presgrove. Oh, and let's just add in, if you're a creator that does things on a different platform away from it all, you make videos on your opinions, appropriate wording and language, very, very clear and specific. You're very careful with how you go about things and your approach for most part of it. You've got your own channel, you've got your own brand, you keep to yourself for most part of it. If you're one of those individuals, you're basically a bad person. And if you acknowledge different perspectives and try and keep it balanced, when you're balanced, it means you're biased. Yeah, that's basically the reality for the definition of justice for Noah Presgrove. If you're balanced, then you're biased. And that to be unbiased means you have to look at it from only one side, and ever only one side, and ignore everything else. Can we have a round of applause for that? That's the reality. You can see the sheer stupidity of that. And with what I've seen and what I've experienced because of that, it makes me question humans. It makes me question their aims within this case and where they're really going within it. I also feel that it might tie back to the overly emotional individuals, passionate, driven, determined people past the point of comprehension and common sense, that some might go just a little bit too far and get a bit ahead of themselves. You get past a certain point that there's no coming back. You convince yourself so much that you actually believe in it, and you can't take no for an answer. Yeah. I feel another turning point for me when it came to the murder outcome, because I'm going to split it like this. Do I believe it's murder with absolute confidence and certainty? No. Do I feel that there's more chances of a form of foul play besides murder? Yeah. That if you go back to my earlier videos in regard to what I originally thought, I think there'll be a lot of people rather surprised that maybe based off my gut feelings, what I originally said early on in terms of the possible cause of death, yeah, very interesting. With the direction it's gone now and what people think about being in a vehicle and somehow falling out or so, I actually mentioned that at the very start. Not that I was saying it with absolute confidence based off evidence, I was just giving you my raw thoughts, I guess based off limited knowledge but a form of common sense. If anyone wants to look back and do research, feel free. But what I want to know is there anyone watching right now that actually remembers my original idea of the cause of death? I'll just give you roughly the description of what I gave at the time. Was Noah Presgrove in a vehicle, in a car, and then he was like kicked out or pushed out of the moving vehicle. And as he fell out, hit the ground and then started rolling. And did he hit any objects along the way to cause any additional injuries? Is that possible? Being chucked out, hence being disposed of, but dying upon impact. That's what I roughly said at the very start, before I looked at the autopsy, or at least had time to process it. Interesting. If anyone does remember, just let me know in the comments or the live chat. I mean, if it does turn out to be true, that it's just interesting how I might have been steps ahead when I had the least experience compared to everybody else around me. I guess time will tell, of course, then. So would that mean that if I was right from the start, that ever since I've actually gone backwards because I've been convinced to think elsewhere, that I've kind of gone worse? No. All I did was just go elsewhere to look at other things. And so you got to understand that for the light side and the length of time I spent over there, the dark side was obviously very patient. Not that they really knew me, but there was a level of patience. Whereas, as we've seen nowadays with the other side, when covering it there, the previous side are very impatient and very petty. And it's just very unfortunate, but that's just how it's gone. So the more I've seen with time, more infantile-like behaviour, throwing toys out at the pram and more, that people are completing the self-fulfilling prophecy of labels that have been attached to them, then they become it. All these people from certain sides, they're undoing themselves, they're undoing the supposed work that's been made along the way, what they claim, what they believe in. They're undoing it. They're not making themselves any better off. They're making the situation worse for themselves. They're making it easier for people elsewhere to look at them and think, oh, we know what's going on here. Bit crazy. Losing control, unstable. And if you're unstable, can we really believe what you say is true? Or is that reckless? It has a negative knock-on chain effect. Just like within the case, how there's certain elements and timelines when one's proven to be wrong or incorrect, everything that happens after that or before could be questioned as well, and the individual that's stating it. The same can happen within the community. When it starts imploding on itself, what's actually stable? What can you actually believe in? Not as much as what you once did. So I look at the psychological effect of it all and how it can link together and how it can crumble together. And you can say it's worrying because whilst at the same time you got that going on, you also have unstable people that in real life will have professional jobs. And you kind of think, well, if that's how they act and that's what their attitude is like online towards us and one another, what are they like in their workplaces and who are they around? Are they a danger? Just imagine if, there was like a nurse or a doctor and they're a bit dodgy, they're a bit toxic, you become their patient later on. You think, oh, I don't want to be in your hands. If that's the case, if you already got pettiness with me, you'd probably wake up to a severed limb or a missing eye or something, or waking up to a needle hanging over you. Bit far-fetched, I know, but it's just like another factor, another layer. But of course, if you are in hands of Dr. Raff, you will be in great hands. You don't need to worry about that. Okay? Shh. So, that's where I'm at. I wouldn't say the autopsy was a turning point for me because I didn't have time to process or look at the early days of it, all the stuff to build up to that. But at least my theory as for a possible cause of death, it was in line with what people are now thinking. So I do think that's quite interesting. But along the way, whether progression is made or not, or it might come across as if it is, I'm not going to dismiss the murder. I'm not going to dismiss the beating, because the possible motive behind it all, providing that there is one, it's just not been discovered yet. If there is ever a motive somehow, somewhere, or an event just before Noah's death, well then things are still on the table. And I know some can roll their eyes back and some can play the little bingo house games of label Warlike Raff as this today and that tomorrow. It is what it is. But I'm just going to keep it the way it is and the way it's going. But with the patterns, themes, trends in recent time, we have been looking at in some directions more so than others. I can return back to other directions, like if there's ever a need, if there's ever any additional evidence or any findings along the way to highlight the possibilities of a possible murder, I can look back at it just to highlight. See, I think what's happened is along the way, just as a factor and observation, is that people from one side more so than the other would have used their material more historically speaking and or on the sideline. So when you get threats from Brooke Bounds Carter, like with that screenshot what we saw, and whilst the context was not shown completely, how you interpret it from what Brooke Bounds Carter was saying can be interpreted as a threat. And people were outright saying, Brooke is threatening people, Brooke is threatening Noah's family. At a later point when I reflected back on it, it was more so a warning, a heads up by Brooke in regard to what somebody else is capable of if their back is against a wall like Stevie Howard. It could be considered a threat, but more so a warning in advance in regard to another person who is the real threat. So it's understanding the layers behind it, but not everybody can comprehend that if they're emotionally charged. They will skip a level or two and jump ahead and ignore the previous factors. Detrimental, in my opinion, at least. In regard to Colton Newton, outright threatening behaviour, did it to himself, dug himself a hole there. Was it about the case and community? To some extent, yes. Certain people that just so happened to be from the party on one of the days at least, and then at a later point with the ongoing investigation and just in day-to-day life when Colton does a snap, threatening language, oh, come on down here, we'll sort it out face to face. Kev like, yeah, meet up, let's have it out. Or you bring some of your guys, I'll bring some of my guys and we'll meet. Sounds like some kind of brawl or fight. Suggestive, right? Colton with the other one, calling out the person that Snapchatted, messaged Stephanie Millan, and of all people, while Stephanie Millan has a boyfriend, Colton, who isn't the boyfriend, just a friend, I'm guessing, Colton Newton, defends her and says to that stranger, yeah, F off, don't be doing that, bring it, channel it through me, not them, and if you keep on, messaging them, I'm going to come and find you, I'm coming after you. very, very threatening and reckless. By the actions of some people and other party goers, or the lack of action, people in the case community from one side more so than the other have used that material and that supposed evidence to support the idea of murder. That because somebody is threatening at a later point post-death of Noah, if they're threatening and capable of killing someone or hurting someone, and they just so happen to be from the party, well then that person must be responsible for Noah's death, and then that must mean it's a murder outcome. All possibilities, but others jump in at it and just say, well, if that's possible, and that might link, then it must be a fact that that's the outcome. I don't do that, other people do. And other people that push or are passionate about the murder outcome, will use this external findings and even historical stuff as well, like with the Caleb Newton situation of the Warwick boating accident, that because of what happened then, which some grey areas which some people question, what happened then could have been replicated again now. And, how do people link that? Oh, Caleb was at the party. They seem to be rumours because we've not seen any physical evidence of it. That is a problem itself, isn't it? And we'll get to that in a second. That's a turning point for me. But because Caleb being at the scene for the son, Jack, any conversations, any, suggestions or anything going on there, you see how people try and link it together. There's no harm in making links. And if some people in the case ongoing onwards have threatening stuff to say towards the general public, if not elsewhere, it does need to be looked into. Just like when Carter Combs via Instagram, Carter Combs said to someone, they're going to beat the effing shit out of someone. And Jack Newton responded amongst that on Facebook saying, yeah, they're within their right to say something like that and approved of it. At times when we thought that they broke up, but clearly they didn't. Boyfriend supporting girlfriend, that's fair enough, that's natural, all good there. But, Carter Combs' choice of words, not ideal. But supposedly the reasoning behind it is because the other person was giving triggering messages and responses in hopes of, getting Carter to speak or say something she's not supposed to say. If that's done in that way, well, then it's not exactly natural, is it? You're kind of forcing a response out of someone to get what you want, just like a confession. And then can it really be used properly in a case? Probably not. As long as it's natural, that's what matters. The Snapchat situation with Stephanie Millan seemed natural, but how Colton responded was unnatural, unnecessary, and threatening. So for anyone to think, oh, Colton could be involved in Noah's death, that's absolutely understandable with appropriate language and wording, because they themselves are presenting themselves in a negative light. And providing they were at the party and it links and it can be reinforced, then the chances are higher and possible. But how people act about it, they don't go about it like how I do. They jump ahead, and that's what causes the damage and trouble. But to refer back to Caleb Newton, to refer back to the theme of adults being at the party, guardians, parents of parents and party goers could have been there to assist or cover up, act on behalf of someone to take out Noah Presgrove. That is all troublesome. And the reason why I say it is physically, based off hard evidence and what we've already seen from the party footage, although limited, we haven't seen any adults, as in parents, as in Caleb. We've not seen any photos or videos or proof of that. There was a brief spell, or a long spell, of Soccer Dad 08 or 07, Avery Howard, TikTok page, compilation video, which showed nighttime footage of a ginger cowboy. That's just the description. And Carter and or Avery was riding on his back, and he nearly fell over and his button was about to burst. But with that being in mind, the context of when that actually happened at any point in time, not linked to the party itself. So that was later debunked, but people jumped in on it and just assumed, oh, nighttime footage, without seeing the house, without seeing the date, well, just because of that, then it must mean it's to do with the party. In terms of when the video was posted, though, close or around or at the time of the party itself, okay, but a compilation video is collective photos, videos from over time, over the last year, last month, week, if not longer, reflection, retrospection, memories, slideshow. Just because you upload it on the day of, let's say, the death of someone, don't mean to say that the footage was recorded on the same day. Just like the Kenny Veach case, yeah. Kenny Veach hiked out in October, or at least that's when he uploaded his video in October, but he could have gone on his hike and recorded it weeks before going into the month beforehand of October, because you're not going to be uploading it all in the same day. You're not going to have time. You're going to be knackered and drained. So that's always worth acknowledging. Just because something's uploaded on a certain day doesn't mean to say it's recorded on the same day. Simple as. And it's the language and the wording which kind of pissed me. Well, it didn't piss me off, but it just was a bit frustrating. I want people to listen in. People from more so one side than another. Maybe more so the army page, for sure. Army page and a bit of the case discussion. This is not an attack. This is an observation from what I've seen. Simple as. If people see it as an attack, well then clearly people are too sensitive. May need a bottle of milk, may need a dummy as well, and a sheeting that goes over the pram so they can't chuck it out, okay? Whilst that's been sorted in the background, what I do want to highlight is people from more one side than another were pushing the questions of, yeah, but what about the parents? The parents were there, the guardians were there, Caleb was there, the adults. What about the adults? How many adults were at the party? Where were the adults from? Were there any Texas adults there? Can we have a face palm right now? Of course there were adults at the party. At least to my knowledge, I don't know if it differs from the UK to the US, that once you turn 18, you are technically an adult. Even you want to call it a young adult, you are an adult, 18 onwards. So ask yourself, were there adults at the party which Noah attended? Yes. Okay, 18 onwards, under 21, under the age of being able to drink properly and legally, but you're still an adult. It's just that the laws differ in the US. You can be an adult, young adult, but just not the correct age to be drinking. Understandable. So ask yourself this. How old was Noah Presgrove at the time? 19. How old was Caden Pressey at the time? I believe 19. How old was Jack Newton? I guess around or close to 18, 19, and so on. Carter Combs, I'm not too sure about that. Jasmine, I'm not too sure. Avery, 22 or turning 22 at the time, clearly an adult. Multiple adults were at the party. In regard to guardians and parents of the young adults and teenagers and anyone under the teenager age, whatever, of responsibility roles, people like that, from evidence what we've seen, it doesn't reinforce it. So it's just weird. I know what people are getting at, but they're just using the wrong language. If you're saying, were adults at the party, how many? Well, it's obvious. Noah Presgrove, 19. Avery, 22 or so, and other people within that range of age, which would make them adults. So obviously there were adults at the party. If you're referring to guardians and parents, word it like that. Not the other way, it just gets too confusing and silly. Whether it was done on purpose, whether it was an accident, a mistake, if the basics and the fundamentals can't even be ordered and structured well, especially with language and communication, it's already a downfall. Because if from the get-go there is poor communication, there's going to be much room for misunderstanding. A misunderstanding can lead to headaches and unnecessary mess and noise. So just these elements once again, which made me think, this is a turning point. Do people actually know what they're talking about? And there'll probably be some other areas as well, but I'm just giving you some rough outlooks. So with that being in mind, if I do think of any other turning points where things have changed the narrative in general, I mean, if you're referring to the narrative holistically, I guess you could say with what I've learned about humans, their mindsets, their subconscious mind, their infantile-like degenerative type, disease-ridden, degenerative-like, plum-like behavior, when I start seeing more of that, the cracks appear, things come undone, and then I can start to question where people are really at in this case, in their directions, their aims and methods, and in between that, it can have it can have unraveling effects. So I'm probably referring to it as more of a holistic viewpoint on a bigger detrimental scale, which is kind of typical with me. So hopefully that's clear enough, or as clear as can be. What I do want to do now at least is look at YouTube, the comment section, and see what's gone down in recent time and what people have had to say. What we'll do first is start from the bottom, work our way up. Still seems a little bit active. We've got Larry. This case has a lot of crazy implications going around sometimes. I think this case won't ever be solved completely. Will it be solved publicly immediately, or will it be more likely solved privately and then there's a delay period? And I don't mean that as a stupid question or observation. I just mean like the delay factor of it. When it came to the Dylan Rouse case, there was a bit of a heads up in regards to what to expect next. In this case, it's pretty silent. Skippy to Larry, it's like an onion, or as others will say, mademoiselle, it's like an onion. Layers upon layers of unsubstantiated claims, and a bit stinky because of all the infighting. Sourwood honey. Thank you, Raf. Appreciate watching your process and conclusions you reach in a controlled way. Appreciate that. Shout out to Sourwood. I think today, or at least how I've spoken more today, it's been a bit more eloquently done compared to the feral-like behaviour of myself in recent time where I was almost grabbing my top at one point. Spencer, yeah, I remember Carter picking up Mikey on your previous podcast in the past, months ago. Interesting, and Jam remembers too. I'll have to look back at the video last night, what I did in regard to all this, because I think Brooke was present. I don't know if any questions were answered or followed up, but we can always check back. Oh, we still got Justin Roy present. Justin says at the timestamp within my video that Mikey Lair was only there Sunday night, Monday morning as well. Yes, it happened that night, but was it Mikey Lair? They did wrestle a few times, more than once. How do we know that, Justin? Is there hard evidence of it? Is there Snapchat footage? Jam, great question. Was the story told to the family early on true about the fish hook scenario and phone incident being hidden and Noah taking the blame for it? The story keeps changing on this, and I don't understand why. It just breaks my heart either way. I don't know if the girl in Terrell that was dropped off in Terrell is related to anyone in the case or not. Justin, lots of stories have changed over time, sadly. Just points that someone knows exactly what happened to Noah from the party. I agree. Too many discrepancies, and I don't believe he did this to himself. Well, if we're talking about too many discrepancies, we've also got to bring Caden Pressey's name into the mix of things, because, unfortunately, there's a lot of discrepancies with Caden Pressey's Partners in True Crime interview and the private police recorded one. And the problem is, what the opposition will say is, you're attacking Caden Pressey for mentioning Caden's discrepancies. What about the other party goers? I'm sure they've got discrepancies as well. I'm not dismissing that. I just can't acknowledge it the same way as Caden's because the other people haven't put themselves out there the same way. Or the other people haven't had their interviews leaked like Caden's. So it is unfortunate. But how I've analysed Caden is exactly what I would do with the other party goers, even if they're from the dark side. I've just not been able to because it's not available. So I think that's where the what do you call it, breakdown in communication comes from, don't you think? Sourwood, have all your relatives, Justin, who were there, spoken to LE or given their phones for analysis? Justin, no, he did not, and it wasn't a hit and run either, in my opinion. Wait, what? Wait, what's going on here? Who is Justin responding to? Why hide behind a fake account? And yes, apparently Jasmine has done everything she was asked, but this isn't about me, is it? Didn't think so. What about the other half dozen? Wait. What's this even about? Sourwood ask a simple question. Justin, have your relatives spoken to police? Have they handed their phones over? And Justin responds with, no, he did not. Who's he? And it wasn't hit and run. Justin hasn't responded back to a simple question. But then Justin says, why are you hiding behind a fake account? But to say, and yes to what? The sentence structuring is poor, and I'm just being honest. Because if Sourwood says, have your relatives spoken to police or given phones, Justin says, why are you hiding behind a fake account? What's that got to do with Sourwood asking a simple question? Has this happened, yes or no? And the response is, you're hiding behind a fake account. What's it with this deflection? Oh shit. Wait, isn't that what Beth Rose says? Deflection. Oh no, I've deflected the deflection. Oh no. Advocados for advocates. We're deflecting the deflection. You know what I'm going to do, man? Yeah. I don't care if Beauty Garumo is driving or doing donuts around the roundabout. Beauty Garumo, if you're going to be tossing any slippers or shoes, I'm going to be deflecting them elsewhere. Yeah, because I don't want him to bump my pretty head. No. But yeah, in all seriousness, it just seems like this is a microcosm of the case community at hand. One asks a question or two, the other responds with something completely different. It's like if I asked you, what is your favourite colour? And then you respond back with, hi, I like cotton candy and I like shoving it in my eyes because it makes me feel raw passion. What? You've not even answered my question. What are you on? What are you taking? What are you doing? So what does Justin actually mean here? And yes, apparently. What you mean apparently, that's what some of your family have done, reaching out to police, so you don't actually know yourself. But there's no comma, there's no full stop, there's no period. Maybe Justin says, apparently Jasmine has done everything she was supposed to do. Or does it mean, and yes, apparently my relatives did hand stuff over? This is the problem. The way Justin has typed it up, it doesn't make sense. So it wasn't really answered. Jam, thank you for your continued coverage in helping spread awareness for justice in the Noah Presgrove case. So many questions about the subject, as with all parts of the timeline. Questions are good. Fair enough. Big shout out to Jam Sandwich. They've got a good username, first of all. But as well, the comments are good as well, and how they word it. Justin says the dove hunt was Friday and Saturday. Yeah, fair enough. And nobody wants to talk about it. Not sure why either. Probably more social hosting with adults dove hunt, then go to the party. I can agree to some extent that Justin had issues with trying to get answers out of people. When asking simple questions, the other people did not give simple answers and it was awkward. But there have been times where people have asked simple questions, just like what we saw with Sourwood, towards Justin, and Justin has failed to give a clear answer. I think previously some people tried asking Justin, what time did certain people leave? And Justin would just not give an answer or work around it, deflecting. There is a major breakdown in communication. Sourwood says, where were you at? Well, not that I can say on the correct day, but Justin in Partners in True Crime did say that, I guess, I don't know if it would mean Friday or Saturday, probably more so Saturday onwards, Justin was with his family, I think maybe further north or across the Red River, camping, hanging out with family, and every now and then checking his phone to see the Snapchat post of the party in Noah Presgrove. So, yeah, Kyle, yeah, I wonder what happened at the dove hunt and were there any conflicts of Noah with any of the Texas boys? Well, the question is, did Noah Presgrove attend the dove hunt, yes or no? Does anyone know? Spencer, LE should update this case. True. Have they got any further with this case or not? I'm not changing my opinion again. Freak accident. How did Noah die? Might come to light or not. Warlike Raf, I know your heart in the right place. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that. Big shout out to Spencer. I think their profile picture, is that of a horse? I can't tell. Yeah, maybe. Sonny, all the Sharpie drawings and the slaps seemed so humiliating and maybe just joking around, but if it was just messing around jokingly, why the disappearance of the drawings on his body? Well, the slow disappearance or the fading process would tie in with at least, let's say, Sunday morning onwards after breakfast when Noah gets back home to have a shower. The more washes and showers you have accumulating in a short space of time, more time chance for things to fade off and be scrubbed off. Maybe not in one go, but like a little process to it. Was it degrading what Noah was put through? It's not what Noah was put through, it's what Noah accepted and went along with at the time. Just like with when he was topless on the table and his best friend Jack was licking whipped cream off his chest area. Messing about here, but Noah seemed like he was having the time of his life whilst Jack was licking it all up with his tongue. So there's that. Harmless fun. Maybe the moment where Shandy on Saturday grabbed Noah's face and then slapped him outright, Noah didn't really have much time to react or do much, but he just accepted it from his body language. And when it came to the bridle and sweat situation, Noah was asking to be slapped. Because he was saying, hit me, come on. I promise you, I'm not going to do anything, just hit me. And that's what happened. You asked for something, you received it. As for the writing, well, once again from the footage, Noah was just stood there like a statue accepting it. Okay, maybe you could say, well, if Noah is drunk and underage drinking, well, then he can't consent and he can't do much. Maybe that's the only counterpoint. But what we've got to understand and acknowledge is Noah has been to other parties in the past, which has involved alcohol. Other wild, reckless stuff could have happened then, and it seemed okay. Why'd it be any different now? Jam, great question. That one is a mystery as well, like how good of a job would drunk people do giving another person a shower. But this is the thing, if Carter Combs is the designated driver, that means they're sober and they weren't drinking alcohol. So at least one of the witnesses in the shower was sober and capable of assisting Noah. So there is that. Carl, I've always wondered why they erased the Sharpie drawings of Noah. We got Twinkling Twilight Star. I'm not sure why the marker was gone. It was asked what kind of marker was used, and it said a paint marker. You can see in the Saturday night video that they did use Sharpie. If it was in the fact paint marker used, it would come off easier than a Sharpie. Is it possible that the quality of the Sharpie makes a difference? You know, one might be more permanent, longer lasting. Another lower branded, lower quality Sharpie may not last as long, not do as well. Kind of like when you get like nail varnish, when you get nail paints, depending on the quality and the material that's used, it might last longer than other products. Obviously, I'm not an expert, and obviously I don't apply nail paint to my fingertips either. But just a suggestion. Oh, we've got AJ. Actually, in the LE interview, Caden Pressey couldn't even remember if he was at the party Friday. And then in the other, he stated he didn't want to talk about Friday. Odd, he doesn't want to talk about Friday when he can't even remember if he was at the party on a Friday. Well, yeah. For additional context, though, when Caden Pressey was unsure, switching and changing between possibly being there Friday or getting there Saturday, and other additional stuff mentioned, that at a later point the police guy, one of the police guys said, oh, well, based off what you're saying, Caden, there's a high chance that you were probably there Friday. You were there Friday. And then Caden said, yeah, I was there Friday. So you could say that was very unprofessional and unnatural, kind of like forcing, in a way, for Caden to go along with it, which maybe he doesn't actually know himself. and that's in the hands with the police. So a bit unprofessional in my opinion, at least. That's the only issue there. But, you know, if you don't want to talk about something, you could interpret it as, oh, because you may know more and you can't talk about it publicly, it's sensitive information. Are you trying to hide something? There's room for questioning. What's this one? We've got Delinda. I really think that Mikey Lair is the one that did something to Noah, and then I think everybody else covered it up by beating him more severely. Yeah, that's the only thing I've got. Oh, get beaten up once and then get beaten 1,000 more times by other people. It just seems a little bit far-fetched. But it's just an opinion, that's all it is, so it's fine. We should also look into the situation between Mikey and the girl that Noah was seeing. Why? I think she was an ex-girlfriend of Mikey's. How do we know? I hope that this cover-up will be exposed. They all should be in trouble. This is such a sad story. My prayers go to Noah and Noah's family. Where is the proof and evidence that Noah's girlfriend at the time was Mikey's ex? If that's the case, you could say there is maybe a bit of conflict or a motive somewhere. But to be honest, Noah had more issues with Jackie's best friend than with Mikey when it came to supposedly Jack going behind Noah's back and seeing Noah's girlfriend, or flirting more so. Carl, if one was to reach out to you privately, like in some community, to help with you resources, how would I go about that? Through DM on Instagram, or do you have a personal business email? I would not be giving my email away nowadays, because you never know which desperate people and obsessed individuals are lurking in the background with their hands sweating, ready to pounce on me. I'd say Instagram's fine. That's fine. We've got Popsky with the robot, of course, highlighting the voice that I did at the time. One Day at a Time says, apparently I have been kicked out of the army group. I can't find it on Facebook. That's the same outcome for me, One Day at a Time. So yes, you were kicked from the army page, just like how I was. Beauty Garumo says, same. Never even posted there. Commented, shared their screenshots. Can't even follow their own rules. So obviously something I said on Raf's video hit a nerve. Oh, Beauty. The shoe must have fitted. Oh, yes. I guess we can't have our own minds and opinions. Yikes, so sensitive. I don't think it's more... What's this, like fucking Sleeping Beauty or something? Oh my god, Beauty Garumo. It's not even Sleeping Beauty, is it? Or Cinderella? Oh, I don't even fucking know which one it is. Should we just say it's the same thing? Just make it easier to do a crossover with Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. The shoe must fit. Beauty Garumo. Oh my goodness. Well, there we go. But oh my god, you know, the world is turned upside down. Beauty Garumo, it's not going to be to do with the shoe must fit. It's to do with the shoe must have hit a nerve. That's why it is Beauty Garumo. You definitely hit a nerve with some people to be blocked, kicked from a page which you don't really post on. That is embarrassing. True, I agree. So you must have thrown a shoe, thrown a slipper, thrown one of your specialised clothing items, whatever. You've knocked somebody on the head. They got a bit triggered and thought, oh my god, Beauty Garumo, I'm gonna scream now. Where? Rebecca says, you have to be kidding me. For you to get kicked out of a page, they sunk to a whole new level. This is what I mean. This childish-like behaviour by other people, it's their own undoing, their own downfall, and dragging down the army page. Not that I'm saying it is with confidence, but you could say a page, a group could have been prestigious or had standards, but because these other people coming along, or previous people now getting power, admin roles, power gets to their head, they start willy-nilly blocking, kicking people, and it gets out of hand. Yes, it's a major downfall. It's not good. One Day says, no reason or nothing, I can't pull the group up at all. Guess that means I'm blocked. Oh my, not you too. Rebecca, yes, it does mean you're blocked. A few months ago, Donna Bond asked me to comment on Justin's post on Army to ask if he would consider posting it public so Donna can respond appropriately. Immediately blocked. Insane. I'm sorry, hun, it's out of control. That group is being destroyed from the inside. One day at a time. Same wavelength as me. True. I saw it coming like a big red truck. Oh boy. Some aren't as smart as they think they are. Okay, fair enough. Good observation. Rebecca, It was fine when I posted comments that went against the dark side, but even considering all the other possibilities of what happened, I was a trader. I switched to dark side, supposedly, etc. It's pathetic. I'm relieved that I don't have to worry about that crap anymore, and I'm so happy that we all help each other. They don't have a clue how good working together can be. So yeah, once you get through it, once you see people's true side, cleanse yourself, or they cleanse themselves, or I cleanse humans, and then in a quieter, better place down the line. But yes, people can say, oh, we don't want division. We should all be able to work together. Sometimes if we're talking about healthy working environments, it's not always a good thing to be all mixed together. Sometimes there needs to be some separation. Okay. One day, I think an admin should at least tell a member why they're being blocked before doing so. Yeah, I can't even see a couple of those admins' comments on here from the other day. Not that I care, I do find hiding behind a keyboard charger. I knew you would be next, I don't like any free thinkers. I saw it coming. The day after I commented Warlight Raf didn't say what he was being accused of, there was a warning post from an admin. Then that same admin made a similar comment under one of Warlight Raf's videos. Chicken shit. Didn't have the decency to say something directly to me, nor did they say why I'm blocked. I was never explained, well, at the time, it wasn't explained to me. Rebecca, you have no clue how many messages I have received about them booted you. You seriously are the kindest, sweetest person I know. You definitely don't deserve it. To be honest, you won't believe how dark side works so hard for justice for Noah. I feel awful that I was taught into believing the lies and garbage from those supposedly working so hard for this case. I hope the messages you received are good. Okay. And last but not least, Rebecca, check this out. It seems we are on the dark side the whole time. It's true. Beth Carr said so. Laughing my effing ass off. Right, so yeah, when it comes to Beth Carr, I don't know where they're really at when it comes to areas in the case community, but I am aware that Beth Carr is a part of the Travis Davidson group, the Travesty group. So that's interesting. Twinkling. Of course we are. How weird. All these sides. Oh, it's Noah and his family side. I know it's weird, so weird. Well, if Beth Carr says it, it must be true. Ahaha, that made me laugh so hard I choked. Oh no, we don't want another person choking. Give Rebecca a pat on the back. Yeah, there we go. Right, so we've reached the end of the comments here. Really interesting with what's going on in recent time. You know, the way it's going with the conspiracies about if you think in a different direction or you acknowledge other points of views makes you a part of the dark side, then I am truly screwed because all of my tools are literally the dark side. I'm surprised no one made a conspiracy about, oh my God, Warlight Raf's hair is black. So it must mean he's made a deal with the dark side. That, oh no, what's this? One of the XL whips. So big, you can't even fit it on screen. You see how long that is? You twang it, it'll go all over the place. This is dark. My whip is a part of the dark side. That is strike one. Oh no. What else do we have? The original fresh style whipping tool, which has got paint scratched on it now and has been used on the strawberries, unfortunately. That is a part of the dark side as well. You can see where this pattern and trend is going. We have the one and only whip zip. That's black as well, just like my heart and soul. Where's the zip actually gone? Oh no, even that. The more you unzip, the more layers you reveal, and the greater I can't even talk, spazzing out, malfunctioning. Yeah, that is dark as well. Oh no, the original, the most experienced item, that has joined the dark side as well, just because it's black. Oh goodness. Oh no, some bag netting is dark as well, dark side, and this as well, dark side. I'm like some kind of, oh no, look at me. There's too much darkness. There's not enough shades of grey. What am I going to do? What's next? Because of the amount of belts upon me, I'm going to be called the dark side leader, the hidden one. Oh, it's come to light. What am I going to do? Am I going to burn? Oh, no. What do I do? Where do I go? Oh well, it is where it is. But with that being in mind, you know, it's just kind of wild. There are still avenues and stuff to look at within this case, not in any particular order because it's a bit all over the place. But just as a brief little disclaimer, just to move aside for a second in a more light-hearted tone. Oh my God, Beauty Gurumo. Beauty has been so busy driving about, tossing shoes. Oh yeah, it's been like not exactly a drive-by, but more a shoe buy, a flip-flop buy, flopping about, knocking people over with sandals and anything else in between, getting to the point where running low on shoes, Beauty Gurumo ends up using one of Joyce Burgow's bass or bass slippers. Poor fish. Hopefully it survives. But that's all good. And oh my God, Beauty Gurumo, you know, the way you use your brushes and paint brushes and anything else in between and lip gloss, oh my God, it's done so eloquently and innocent. Really, really innocent. And look at me, whore like Rav, such a whore. I need some tips, Beauty Gurumo. I need to be more innocent because I'm such a naughty individual. And poor Sharon, because whilst Sharon's been lurking somewhere, poor Sharon has to put up with my naughty behavior. How unfortunate. You know, Sharon is the most innocent people about, and then there's me. Yes. Anyway, I could punish myself right now, but I'm sure there'll be some conspiracies going on there from lurkers in the background. We don't want to be triggering anything there. So if you found this video somewhat interesting, you want to share, hit the like button, that would be much appreciated. And hopefully you found the video overall helpful. I'll see you next time. But for now, my name is Warlike Ref. Goodbye and good night.